Hello, and welcome to the Collecting Your Data module of the Research Data Training Series. I am Paul Byrne, Research Data Services Librarian at Syracuse University Libraries. What we will cover in this module is paper-based data collection, data entry, electronic data collection, and using secondary data. First, let's talk about paper-based data collection. What we mean here is any research where responses or other information was first written on paper and then entered into a computer. This can include surveys, classroom tests, any kind of lab experiment where results are first written on a paper form and then entered into a computer. If you're going to be collecting data in this method, you must first be sure that the form is easy to complete. You need to pilot test your forms to make sure that your respondents find the form easy to fill out and it's not too long. Also, so that any team members or other people you have collecting data understand how to use the form and what information to enter where. You should pre-print or write an ID number on each form. This will allow you to match each form to a line of data in the computer for cleaning later on. If you have just one wave of research, then you can do this as the forms are returned, but before you enter the data. If you are doing longitudinal research, then you'll also need a way of matching forms and data records for each wave. Be sure to print extra forms, buy extra envelopes, stamps, etc. Mistakes are bound to happen and you'll need extra materials on hand so as not to waste time reproducing them. If you'll be mailing the forms, be sure to weigh a sample so you can determine the correct postage. As your forms are returned, make copies of them or scan them in. Keep the copies or scans in a place separate from the originals. This will serve as a backup in case of some unforeseen event such as a fire or accidental disposal. If you're going to scan them in, then each form should be a separate file. Use the ID number as the file name or at least in the file name. And remember, you must treat the copies and scans as you do the originals, meaning you need to keep them confidential and ensure that no unauthorized persons get access to them. Let's talk about entering your data from the paper-based forms. You should start entering the data as the forms are returned. This will just help save time later on and may point out potential problems that can be corrected early. If possible, you should use some kind of data entry software. Some software specific to entry data in a computer. Whatever you do use, make sure it has some means of error checking, namely making sure that you haven't entered out-of-range values or inappropriate values, etc. Some statistical software have data entry modules. These are fine. You can also use survey software such as Qualtrics. This can be especially useful for surveys in that the data entry form can be designed to look like the survey form, which can make the data easier to enter. You can also use database software such as Microsoft Access, though we do not recommend using Excel or other spreadsheet application. Whatever software you do use to enter the data, you should use the double entry method to ensure accuracy. The double entry method is when two people enter the data into two different files, or one person enters the data twice in two different files. You then compare the two files and fix any discrepancies. No matter what software or method you use to enter the data, you'll still need to go through the data cleaning process. Error checking and double entry may not find all mistakes. Let's talk about electronic data collection. This is when responses or other information is entered directly into the computer. This includes web-based surveys and telephone surveys where the interviewer enters the responses directly into the computer. Most software for electronic data collection will automatically include an ID variable for each record. You still need to make sure. If it does not, then you'll need to enter your own. Also, determine what kind of output this software will give you to make sure that you can get the data from your data collection application to the software you'll use to clean and analyze the data. Be sure to output, then back up responses as they come in. This will safeguard against a system crash or other calamity, and you can use early responses to test any code that you have already written. This can be done in batches. You don't need to do every single response individually as they arrive. Also, do not clean the data in the data collection software. Use your analysis software to do so. If you clean the data in your data collection software, you may not be able to get the original data back. Also, there may be a systematic problem that you cannot determine using the collection software. And finally, the code that you write to clean your data will provide a record of what you did and how you did it. Let's move on to using secondary data. First, make sure the data you need exists in the form you need it to do your proposed analyses. Remember that key variables may not have been collected or coded in a manner consistent with the analysis you've proposed. Make sure that you can get access to all the files you'll need. Some datasets come in several different files, and certain variables may only be available in restricted versions. This means you'll need to write a proposal just to get the data, and this will delay your project considerably. If you are getting the data from a web application that allows you to pick variables and/or observations, and you're not sure if you want a particular variable or observation, include it. It is easier to just ignore it later on than to have to go back and add it in. Do be sure to include all ID variables. Again, if you're subsetting from a web-based facility, be sure to document all the steps and choices you made. Better yet, if it's possible to do so, download the entire file and subset it in your analysis software. If you're using a software package to subset it, be sure to do so using code. So in conclusion, always be sure to pilot test your data collection method. Back up and copy data or forms as they arrive. Make sure everything has an ID number assigned to it. Use your analysis software to clean your data. And learn to code. Thank you. If you have any questions or comments, please let us know. Our contact information can be found on the web page. Now, on to the next module, cleaning your data.